which usually indicates there might be a delay in the bus coming down Walnut. So I usually don't walk in this direction at this hour. It's 9:30-ish, I guess. 100 years fresh and counting, Wawa milk. I never was a milk fan. I'm not really sure why. It actually would make me gag and like kind of want to throw up. Even just the aroma of milk, the whole experience of milk is, you know, nauseating. I can do yogurt. I could do ice cream, but it's a little too fattening. So I can do like, you know, Chobani yogurt. I do a lot of non-dairy when I can afford it. When I can't, then I'll just get regular yogurt. But that's cultured, and you know, it's not the same as just drinking liquid milk. I don't know why it is. So I have a whole essay on milk and pee oppression, and of course there are parental figures out there who, you know, wish they want you to do exactly what they tell you to do, like drink milk. And it's like, I don't like the milk. So then you're like pouring pounds of like chocolate Hershey syrup in the milk to make it taste a little bit more chocolatey. And that could work, but it's like, what if you are not supposed to drink milk? Like you're actually lactose intolerant. So lactose intolerance was not part of our vernacular, our lexicon, our awareness when I was growing up. They would just assume you weren't well behaved if you didn't drink the milk that they told you to drink. Or someone who doesn't feel in control. This often happens in divorces. So there's a parent who sort of loses full-time contact with kids if you divorce and remarry. So like the kids can only live in one house really full-time for the most part. So therein lies a loss of control. And it's like, do you prefer this other woman over your own kids? Okay, well, the price to pay is to not be as in control as you would have been. So sadly, you know, I know that sounds sad. I don't really, you know, necessarily think that way. It's just kind of a fact. So if you don't behave or do something, someone could feel, especially if they marry into another family, say your dad marries into another family, in a way, he would be outnumbered by the new family. You know what I mean? And you don't feel as in control when you have three people who aren't really people you created or chose first, per se. Like, you know, there's a difference. So you would feel out of control, and you would want to feel like you were the boss. Especially men are technically, even today, even with the feminist movement, men have a little bit more power in general, I think. And they're in their minds, they're supposed to be able to handle everything, you know, and to feel emasculated is very hurtful. So something like me not drinking milk would never be done on purpose. It would literally be, I feel so sick when I put a glass of milk up to my nose that it's a problem. I would never want to displease someone. I was the type of person who wanted to please everyone. You know, and I wanted my dad, you know. It's kind of sad that people had to hog him and everything about him, even his paychecks. And it's sad that these people didn't recognize that that dad belonged to two other daughters. Not them. They had their own dad. So, you know, I would be mortified if he thought for a second that I was trying to be disobedient. That's, you know what I mean. It's more like, no, I cannot smell milk. I will actually throw up. I don't know what it is, because lactose intolerant is actually like tolerance. I think people usually, if they try to drink milk, they have a serious issue, you know, gastrointestinally and all that stuff. I cannot smell it. My mom loved milk. That's the irony. My dad did not like milk. Isn't that interesting? So there's a hypocrisy going on. It's more about control. And I'm sad that my dad didn't get to feel in control because of other factors. One being, he really was outnumbered in this new household. that he wound up in because of a divorce and remarriage, and which was the cause of the divorce. So also my dad grew up, I think, in an uncool, ugly way. So he probably spent a lot of his childhood trying to feel in control, or like being angry and frustrated because, you know, no one is what they're supposed to be, and this, that, and the other. And I totally get it, you know. Anyway, truth is, I went through a whole phase. I was like, I want to be like Mike, because then they had those poster boards. We used to have billboards of Michael Jordan, you know, drinking milk, like be like Mike or whatever. And I tried so hard. You know, I would come home after school to my mom's house, the house that I really grew up in full time, and I would try to pour one out. Like, we had little Dixie cups. I'm like, let me try it in a Dixie cup. And of course, you know, does a glass work better? Like a cold frosted glass, does this work better? Nothing worked. I could not drink it. I really did want to. Years later, there would be documentaries about the hormones and the processing of milk, like mass-produced milk. It's almost better to be non-dairy, especially if your body can't process it in the best way, or I'm not sure whose body can process milk with all the hormones and the GMOs that are loaded up in there to make sure it stays fresh. And, you know, we have a lot of, you know, female cows with pus on their udders and blood and blisters from all the yanking of their udders by machines to produce milk. And then the pasteurization, and people who grew up on raw living foods, they would already know not to touch milk. And of course, milk sours in the refrigerator. So if anything goes sour too quickly, you probably don't even want it to begin with. So I'm vegetarian, mostly vegan, except for yogurt that I get that's dairy sometimes. No eggs, because they could have hatched in an incubator. So someone stole the eggs from a hen 1,000,000 times over at a small farm monthly. I can't bear that, because can you imagine being the mother and having someone steal everything you produced? Sounds like my mom. Stolen from her whole life. So I identify with women and mothers who are stolen from. Never once did anyone in my family bully people around, unless on defense they had to fend off bitches out there who had to steal my dad. So we have bully mentalities all over the place, which is why I'm probably a strict vegetarian, almost vegan. If I had more money, I would just get non-dairy all the time. It's expensive, non-dairy yogurt. So anyway, whatever we were talking about, milk. I still can't figure out why people like milk. This is fascinating to me, but natural people who respect the earth and the resources